It's so badly hurting the state of New York, what he's done. But I had it done with two other judges, Judge Engoron and Judge Kaplan. And this is a cabal. This is a terrible thing that's happening. Giving a woman that I have no idea. We have no, you know that case, no idea. Other than the fact that she had a picture taken many, many years ago. I've never met this woman. I don't know this woman. And I'm supposed to pay a ridiculous amount of money for a fictional story. And Judge Engoron, I built a great company. The company turned out to be much better than anybody ever thought. And he fined me almost $500 million.
I've got a theory, and that is that Donald Trump simply has too much money, and he is desperately looking for ways to spend that money. But because it's apparently harder than any of us might think to spend tens of millions of dollars, he's found that the quickest way to offload some of the wealth that is clearly burning a hole in his pocket is to defame E. Jean Carroll relentlessly. Either that or the man has the self-control of a 6-year-old sitting in front of a bowl of chocolate ice cream. Take all the time you need with that one. Here, Trump has decided to take the curious route of defaming E. Jean Carroll again. And I should remind you, he defamed her once to the tune of $5 million, and he defamed her a second time to the tune of $83.3 million. I understand that Donald Trump may not be a smart man, but you don't have to have a degree in quantum mechanics to understand that the judgments are going up, and that they're going up fast. And so, one might assume that defaming her again is probably not the best idea. Certainly not if you're looking not to pay tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. And what's worse, it took Trump over a month to find someone foolish enough to post a $91 million bond on his behalf for the E. Jean Carroll case. And yet, despite that, he defames her again? First of all, it seems strange that a self-proclaimed billionaire wouldn't have the money himself. But second of all, he's clearly not as liquid as he lets on. And so, knowing how difficult it was to secure the money to pay his debts the last time, knowing how much of a national embarrassment it was on top of that, it doesn't exactly scream logical to get yourself into the exact same mess for even more money. Of course, I should note that there will always be some sucker willing to cover for Trump and to pay his bills. The last bond was put up by a subsidiary of Chubb Insurance Company, and if you're wondering why a company would take on the risk, it's because Chubb's CEO is a guy named Evan Greenberg, who Donald Trump appointed in 2018 to a White House advisory committee for trade policy and negotiations. He's a Trump official, and what do all Trump lackeys and sycophants have in common? They will do anything for the cult leader. So if Trump says, I need you to back this $91 million bond, of course the guy's going to do it, because this is what they do. They throw away their financial stability, their law licenses, and their very freedom if that's what Trump tells them to do. Giuliani is broke, Jenna Ellis, Sidney Powell, Kenneth Chesbrough are indicted. The list of Trump officials who've served prison time includes Steve Bannon, Peter Navarro, Michael Cohen, Paul Manafort, George Papadopoulos, Roger Stone, Rick Gates, and most recently, Alan Weisselberg, who's headed back to Rikers. Starting to think that maybe, just maybe, loyalty to Donald Trump doesn't exactly have a high return on investment. And bear in mind, the E. Jean Carroll judgment and possible new charges are in addition to the $455 million judgment that Trump was hit with for his civil fraud trial, and of course, his 34 guilty verdicts in his New York criminal trial, for which he's awaiting sentencing right now. So again, I know it sounds like a broken record here, but unless Trump is actually just a big fan of sitting in courtrooms, perhaps he should consider a strategy other than breaking the law. Or don't. In the words of Melania, I don't really care. Do you? So now, all eyes will turn to E. Jean Carroll and her attorney, Roberta Kaplan, who have now successfully sued Donald Trump twice, because, let's be clear, they now have a justification to sue him again. And just like Carroll was successful when Trump defamed her a second time, he did the exact same thing here. Remember, the point of these damages is to find a sum high enough that Trump won't do it again. The jury thought that that number was $5 million the first time. It wasn't, considering Trump defamed her again within only 24 hours of that judgment being handed down, doing this.
Just so you understand, ready? I never met this woman. I never saw this woman. This woman said, I met her at the front door of Bergdorf Goodman, which I rarely go into other than for a couple of charities. I met her in the front door. She was about 60 years old, and this is like 22, 23 years ago. I met her in the front door of Bergdorf Goodman. I was immediately attracted to her, and she was immediately attracted to me. And we had this great chemistry. We're walking into a crowded department store. We had this great chemistry, and a few minutes later, we end up in a room, a dressing room of Bergdorf Goodman, right near the cash register. And then she found out there were locks on the door, so she said, I found one that was open. She found one. She learned this at trial. She found one that was open. What kind of a woman meets somebody and brings them up, and within minutes, you're playing hanky-panky in a dressing room, okay? I don't know if she was married then or not. John Johnson, I feel sorry for you, John Johnson.
Mr. President,
and then, of course, the jury thought that $83 million would be high enough. What we're learning now is that apparently it's not. And for posterity, here's what Roberta Kaplan said prior to suing Donald Trump on air.
You did force accountability, and then he did it again.
the defamation, the calling you a liar, the exact same things the jury held him liable for the day before, he did again the next day on national television. Is that just the way it has to be? Do you think that potentially could be actionable if you were to file another suit? Would it work the same way?
So it's definitely actionable. He's not going to get away with it another time. It's unprecedented for a person to have been held liable in defamation to keep doing the defamation. So there are not a lot of cases that we can look to for a playbook about how to do it. But suffice to say, I have a lot of lawyers who are very busy looking into this, and we are weighing all of our options. Whether that will succeed, I don't know. I sure hope it will.
If he continues to defame her, will there be more? I mean, is it potential there's another case?
I'm too good of a lawyer to tell you that, but I mean, everything's on the table.
And of course, he was sued and he was ordered to pay $83.3 million. And so now, given that Trump did it again, reason would have it that he would owe even more than $83 million. Just to offer up some math, let's do a little thought experiment. The percent increase from Trump's first penalty to the second penalty was 1,566%. If Trump was hit with the same increase from penalty number 2 to a potential penalty number 3, he would owe $1.4 billion. Will that happen? Probably not. But will it be significantly higher than $83 million? It sure would seem that way. So look, at this point, Carol should absolutely waste zero time in bringing forward another lawsuit. She might as well just use the guy as her personal bank account. It's not like she has to build a brand new case. The guy keeps committing the exact same violation against her. And he's doing it because he doesn't think that the law applies to him. Just like he doesn't think the law applies to him in any of the other cases that he's contending with or has already lost, from stealing classified documents to trying to prevent the certification of the 2020 election to complying with campaign finance laws. Agent Carroll is in a rare position to let him know, under no uncertain circumstances, that he will be held accountable for his actions. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's exactly what she moves to do. In the meantime, this is an opportunity for the rest of the Republican Party, the same party that brands itself the defenders of law and order, to actually, defend at least a single principle they claim to stand for. Because I'll tell you what, it sure does seem that Republicans don't care about any of their purported values and instead exist to serve their God King. So if that's not true, which it is, but humor me here, this is their chance to prove otherwise. Although frankly, when it comes to this Republican Party, I'm not exactly holding my breath. I've got a really exciting announcement. I've written a book. It's called Shameless. This book explores how Republicans have exploited their historical branding while attacking our democracy, how the media has proven itself a willful participant, and how Democrats can learn from this to rebalance the political scales and save our democracy. It has been a lifelong dream of mine to write my own book, and so I'd like to ask you to pre-order it by clicking the link right here on the screen. And if you buy within this pre-order period, your book is going to come with a signed nameplate. As you know, I've never had a single sponsor on my channel. I don't ask for money or anything like that, but if you're looking for a way to support me, this is hands down the best way to do it. So again, follow the link right here on the screen, and thank you from the bottom of my heart for pre-ordering Shameless. And as always, make sure to subscribe to see more of my content.